Hello friends, welcome back to our Basics of Python program series and today is lecture 13 and we discuss about what is OOPS. So it is OOPS stands for Object-Oriented Programming and Python is an object-oriented language allowing you to structure code using classes and objects for better organization and reusability. Understand? So OOPS advantages of OOPS का advantage क्या होता है friends? So provides a clear structure to program, makes code easier to maintain, use and debug, and helps keep your code dry, don't repeat yourself. It means and allows you to build reusable application with less code. And now is what are classes and objects. So friends, classes is and objects are two code concepts in object-oriented OOP, and a class defines what an object should look like. An object is created based on the class. For example, here as you can see, classes in fruit and car, and object is apple, banana, mango, and here is Volvo, Audi, and Toyota. And now, when you create an object from class, it inherits all variables and functions defined inside that class. Understand? So now is next is classes and objects. So Python is an object-oriented programming, as you know, and almost everything in Python is an object with its properties and methods. A class is like an object constructor or a blueprint for creating objects, and create a class to create a class use a keyword class. Understand? Here as you can see in this example, and now is create object. So now we can use the class named my class to create an object here as you can see. And now friends, delete object. So you can delete object by using del keyword. Understand? So here is multiple objects and you can create multiple objects from the same class. Understand? Here as you can see now friends, the pass statement. So class definition cannot be empty, but if you for some reasons have a class definition with no content, put in the pass statement to avoid getting an error. So here is the what is a correct syntax for deleting an object named person in Python. So now friends, move to our next is code challenges part, and here is create a class called person. Understand? Class person person look. And now self name is now self dot name self dot age age greet self. Now print hello, my name is and self dot name. So now p1 to person John and 36 next is p1 dot greet. So now run this code friend. Take this code. So here is some issues friends, and there is so here this is in calculator now. So friends, एक बार इसे आप खुद से try कर लेना. Understand? Here is some error is इधर. Understand? I think this should be there and here. So now friends, so so now friends, moving to our next part is init method. ये क्या होता है friend? So here is all classes have a built-in method called method, which is always executed when the class is being initiated. Understand? So here is the init method जो होता है is used to assign values to object properties or to perform operations that are necessary when the object is being created. Here as you can see is the here is the init method, and in this create a class named person. Use the init method to assign values for the name and address. So here is the value assigned यहाँ पे you can do, and here is the init method is called automatically every time the class is being used to create a new object. So here as you can see, and using init method make it easier to create object with initial values, and with init method you can set initial values when creating the object. Understand? Here as you can see friends, प्लीज इसे आप ट्राई करना. अंडरस्टैंड? सो यहाँ पे डिफॉल्ट वैल्यूज इन इनिट मेथड ये क्या होता है, यू कैन ऑल्सो सेट default values for parameter in the init method. Here as you can see init method करके उसके अंदर values you can do and multiple parameters. So init methods can have as multiple parameters as you need here in this, as you can see here in this example. So now what is the purpose of the init method in Python? So to assign initial values to object properties. So now solve this code challenge. Here is now. So here create class doc, create doc and create an object self name age. Now self dot name self dot age. Now depth bar. Now self and print a string self dot name says oh, understand? So here you can see now call the bar. So d1 dot body. Now d1 bar. So now check this check code friends. So here is the some issues to find classes. that uh, I think यहाँ पे हमने class talk. Understand? Now check this code. So now friends, moving to our next part is self parameter. ये क्या होता है? So friends, ये जो होता है self parameter is a reference to the current instances of the class. It is used to access properties and methods that belong to the class. Here, as you can see, class use self to access class properties. As you can see, इसे आप access कर सकते हो self parameter use करके. Understand? So now is here the self parameter must be the first parameter of any method in the class. Here, as you can see, यहाँ पे first self parameter होना चाहिए. And now why use self? So without self, Python would not know which object's properties you want to access. Understand? So here is the self parameter links the method to the specific object as you can see in this example. Friends, please इसे आप try करना एक बार. अगर नहीं solve हो तो you can ask doubt in comment section. Understand? So friends, now is self does not have to be named self. So it does not have to be named self. You can call it whatever you like, but it has to be the first parameter of any method in the class. Understand? Here as you can see, सेल्फ के अलावा भी आप कोई भी अपने हिसाब से नाम रख सकते हो. And here is a while you can use a different name, it is strongly recommended to use self as it is the convention in Python and makes your code more readable to others. तो फ्रेंड्स यहाँ पे जो है एक्सेस प्रॉपर्टीज विद with self, you can access any property of the class using self. So here as you can see in this example, and now our next is calling method with self. So you can also call other method within the class using self. So here is the now what does the self parameter represent in a Python class? So here is the option, this is the correct. So now our next part is coding part, and now let's solve this code. So here is first is so class car, first हमने class बना लिया car, and now definite self brand self dot brand equal to brand. Okay, so self and print self brand, and now one card code one dot. So now let's check the code. So now friends, it creates your car code. Issues is here now. So now friends, let's thank you friends. We will meet on our next topic, class properties. So friends, now we discuss about Python class properties. So here it is class properties क्या होता है friends? So properties are variables that belong to a class. They store data for each object created from the class. Understand? So here is the example. As you can see, And now friends, moving to our next part is access property. So you can access object properties using dot notation. So यहाँ पे जैसे self dot brand है, self dot model है, तो आप ऐसे access कर सकते हो इधर से. So now next friends, modify property. So you can modify the value of properties on object. So आप जो है properties को modify भी कर सकते हो ऐसे. Understand? Now, so friends, delete properties. You can delete properties from objects using the del keyword. Understand? जैसे कि यहाँ पे del keyword use करके आप properties को delete भी कर सकते हो. And now friends, class properties और object properties ये क्या होता है? तो properties defined inside init method. init जो function इसके अंदर जो properties define है belong to each object instance properties. Understand? And properties defined outside method belong to the class itself class properties and are shared by all objects. Understand? This is so here it is modifying class properties. When you modify a class property, it affects all objects. Understand? जैसे कि इस एग्जांपल में देख सकते हो. Understand? So now is add new property. So you can add new properties to existing objects. So you can आप add भी कर सकते हो. Understand? जैसे कि यहाँ पे है. And now friends, ये क्या होगा? How do you access the property of an object? Using dot notation. So now friends, moving to our next part is code challenges. So here is let's solve. Class a student now define init function and self name grade. Understand? So now self dot name and self dot grade and now friends s1 student and now understand, and here is a. So now print s1 dot grade and now s1 dot grade b and print the updated grade print s1 dot grade. So now check this code. So now friends, moving to our next part is class method. So here is friend class methods क्या होता है? So methods are functions that belong to a class. Understand? They define the behavior of objects created from the class. Understand? जैसे कि यहाँ पे आप देख सकते हो इस एग्जांपल में. Understand? So now is all methods must have self as the first parameter. जैसे कि you know methods with parameters. So methods can accept parameters just like regular functions. Understand? जैसे as you see in this example. And methods accessing properties. So methods can access and modify objects properties using self. Understand? Self. And here is methods modifying properties. Methods can modify the properties of an object. A method can changes a property value. Understand, friends? एक बार इस सब एग्जाम्पल को ट्राई जरूर करना, ठीक है। एंड कोई भी डाउट हो तो यू कैन आस्क मी। सो हियर इज द स्ट्रिंग मेथड जो होता है इज एसएसएल मेथड दैट कंट्रोल्स व्हाट इज रिटर्न व्हेन द ऑब्जेक्ट इज प्रिंटेड, अंडरस्टैंड। सो हियर इज and a string with the string method, here is example and here is the output of this example. And now with our next part is multiple methods. So a class can have multiple methods that works together, जैसे कि multiple methods you can create using classes and work together, and delete methods, so you can delete methods from a class using the del keyword, understand, जैसे कि you can see here. And now friends, let's solve। यहाँ पे फर्स्ट क्या होगा, फर्स्ट फ्रेंड यहाँ पे एक क्लास होगा, सेकेंड यहाँ पे डिफाइन होगा, थर्ड यहाँ पे इनिट होगा, देन फोर्थ स्ट्रिंग, देन सेल्फ, then name, and then age, understand। Now let's run this code। So now moving to our next part is code challenges। So here is the code, so let's solve this code। Class, first is have to create class, understand। So class rectangle, define, init, self, width, height। Now self dot width, self dot height। Now define area, self, now return self dot width and self dot height। Now r1 into rectangle 5 3, and r2 not print r1 dot area। So now check this code। So friends, now moving to our next part is inheritance। So here is inheritance, ये क्या होता है friends? So inheritance allows us to define a class that inherits all methods and properties from another class, understand। जैसे कि यहाँ पे parents child है is the class being inherited from, also called base class, and child class is the class that inherits from another class, also called the derived class, understand। So here is create a parent class, you any class can be a parent class, so the syntax is the same as creating any other class, understand। जैसे कि यहाँ पे this is parent class, and here create name person with name and properties method। And now friends, move on, next part is create a child class। So to create a child class that inherits that uh, inherits the functionality from another class, send the parent class as a parameter when creating the child class, create a class named the student which is will inherit the property method from the person, understand, as you can see here। And now the next part is, here is use the pass keyword when you do not want to add any other properties or methods to class। So now the student class has the same properties and methods as person class, understand। So here is the example, use the student class to create an object and then execute the print name method, understand। Now add the init method function। So ये क्या है, so friends, so far we have created a child class that inherits the properties of method from its parent, and we want to add the init method function to the child class instead of pass keyword. Understand? जैसे कि यहाँ पे init method function is called automatically every time and time the class is being used to create a new object. Understand? So here as you can see in this example, and here is the child init function overrides the inheritance of parent init function. Understand? So here is the use the super function. Python also has super function that will make the child class inherits all methods and properties from its parent. Understand? So here is by using super function, you do not have to use the name of the parent element. It will automatically inherit the methods and properties from its parent. Understand? Here is the example, friends. एक बार इसे आप सब देख लेना. And add a method. So add a method called welcome to the student class. So here as you can see this example. So in this, if you add a method in the child class with the same name as a function in the parent class, the inheritance of the parent method will be override. Understand? जैसे कि यहाँ पे what is the correct to inside a empty class to avoid getting an error. So here is a pass. So here now moving to our next part, these code challenges. So here